Hi, boys and girls. We were hoping that we would be able to see you in a different way, right? Not over the camera, but things have obviously changed since we left from school. But we're still here for you. We're still wanting the best for you. We want you all to take care of each other. We want you to stay healthy. We want you to stay safe. But we're still going to continue our learning. And so with that being said, this is going to be a new experience for all of us. And we want each of you to know that we care about you, we love you, and we're here to help you in any way that we can. So please reach out to us and ask any questions that you have, and we'll do our very, very best to figure this out together. So for reading, we're going to be working on literary nonfiction. And so you'll see that the lesson that we're going to go through is going to be focused on our new novel. And I'm really, really excited about this novel. It's really, really good. So I hope that you'll enjoy it. Like I said, as we go through the lessons, if you have any questions at all, please message me on Seesaw, message your teacher on Seesaw, and we're going to help you however we can. So stay safe, everybody. We love you, we miss you, and we hope that we will see you all soon. Boys and girls, we are going to be reading a new novel. And the new novel that we're going to be reading is literary nonfiction. So you might be wondering, what is a literary nonfiction? I want you to take out the handout on the following clip. This is the handout you should have out now. It says literary nonfiction at the top. These are some guided notes that you can fill in the blank as we go. And on the next clip, I'll provide you with what should be written in the blank so that you make sure that you have the proper notes. So literary nonfiction is a true story. Does everybody see that in parentheses at the very top? Literary nonfiction is a true story. There are two types of literary nonfiction, and you'll see them with the red arrows. There's an autobiography and there's a biography. So if we look under the autobiography section, the first bullet says, it tells the blank of a person's life. In that blank, we're going to write the word story. An autobiography tells the story of a person's life. The second bullet says, it's written by blank. Well, an autobiography is written by that person. And we're going to be reading an autobiography for this novel. The third bullet says, tells meaningful blank. And in that blank, we're going to write that an autobiography tells meaningful events. And finally, autobiographies may share lessons learned. Remember, boys and girls, we talked about how literary stories always have a theme, so they teach us something. So when we get done with this novel, you're going to think about what is a lesson that you can learn from the story that we read. Let's move on to the second red arrow that says biography. Okay, a biography tells the story of someone's life. So they're very similar in that they both tell the story of someone's life. The second bullet says a biography is written by someone else. Okay, so it should say it's written by someone else. And I believe yours says written by blank person, but it should say written by someone else. You can just scratch out the word person there. Third bullet, it's usually in chronological order. And we talked about that when we talked about text structures. So remember, chronological means it shows time events. So what we're going to be reading, you'll see that it's going to follow the timeline of her life. Okay? And then the last bullet says it shows the blank understanding and opinions about the blank. So we're going to put in shows the writer's understanding and opinions about the subject. So here's what the handout looks like completed. So these are your notes for literary nonfiction. Again, remember that even though literary nonfiction is a true story, and we usually associate that with informational text, because it's written with the 5 story elements, it's also literary. So that's why we call it literary nonfiction. And so go through and look at your handout and make sure that you filled in the answers for the notes correctly. When you have those filled out, I'd like you to snap a picture of it or screenshot it, and then you can post it on Seesaw so that I can see that you completed your notes for your binder. Boys and girls, I'm so excited to be starting this novel with you all. It's one of my very, very favorite books. And the title of the book that we're going to be reading is Malala, My Story of Standing Up for Girls' Rights. And if you'll notice at the bottom, it says that Malala herself is the author of the book. So this is why this is an autobiography. She's going to be telling us her life story. Before we get started, I'd like you to just take a look at the cover and let's make some predictions about what you think that this book could possibly be about. There's a handout that's going to be on the next clip that you're going to use to write down your thoughts. And there's a space at the bottom that allows you to even doodle or kind of draw out what your thoughts are. So I'd like you to take out the first handout, which says Read Aloud, Write Along number 1. Part 1, Before the Danger, which is going to be chapters 1 through 3. And at the bottom you can see that there's a space for your name, so you can write that in. But the very first question I want you to answer right there in that middle column is the one that says, when I look at the cover of this book, I think it might be about blank. So remember, boys and girls, you're making a prediction here. There are no right or wrong answers. It's just simply what you are thinking that this book could be about. Please write in a complete sentence or complete sentences. And then you can also have a little doodle spot at the bottom if you'd like. The last column says the main characters add to, and we're going to add to this story as it goes on. So right now, obviously, we're going to be able to at least add Malala herself because we know that the story is about her because that's the title of the book. So you can go ahead and write Malala there. And if you'd like to draw a little picture of Malala or doodle a little picture of Malala there in the doodle spot, you may do so. When you have this completed, I want you to take a screenshot of it and I want you to upload it to Seesaw. Now that we've made our predictions and we've identified who we know the main character is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start the read aloud. Keep in mind that as I'm reading, I want you to be thinking about any questions that you might have, any thoughts. And afterwards, you'll have a chance to respond to the chapter similar to the handout we just did. And it'll be like that for every chapter. So I'm going to start with the prologue. The prologue is, I am Malala. When I close my eyes, I can see my bedroom. The bed is unmade because I've rushed out for school, late for an exam. On my desk, my school schedule is open to the page dated October 9th, 2012. I can hear the neighborhood kids playing in the alley behind our home. I can hear my little brothers fighting over the TV remote. I can smell rice cooking as my mother works in the kitchen. Then I hear my father's deep voice calling out my nickname. Johnny, he says, which is Persian for dear one. I left my beloved home in Pakistan that morning. planning to dive back into bed when I returned from school and ended up a world away. When I open my eyes, I am in my new bedroom. It's in a sturdy brick house in a damp and chilly place called Birmingham. Here there is hardly a sound. No children laughing and yelling. No women downstairs chopping vegetables and gossiping with my mother. Through the thick walls between us, I hear someone in my family crying for home. Then my father bursts through the front door, his voice booming. "Johnny!" he says. But there is worry in his voice, as if he fears I won't be there to reply. That is because it was not so long ago that somebody tried to hurt me, simply because I was speaking out about my right to go to school. That day in October 2012 was an ordinary day. I was 15 in grade 9, and I had overslept because I'd stayed up far too late the night before, studying for my exam. My mother gently shook my shoulder. "Wake up, Pisho," she said, calling me kitten in Pashto, the language spoken by my family's tribe, the Pashtun. "It's 7:30 and you're late for school." I said a quick prayer to God. "If it is your will, Allah, may I please come in first on the exam. Oh, and thank you for all my success so far." I gulped down my breakfast while my younger brother Atal whined. I was getting too much extra attention for speaking publicly about girls and boys having the same right to go to school, he complained. "When Malala is prime minister someday, you can be her secretary," joked my father. "No," cried Atal, the little clown in the family. "She will be my secretary." I raced out the door and down the lane just in time to see the school bus crammed with other girls on their way to school. I never saw my home again. That afternoon, my classmates and I stared down at our tests, trying to think over the honking horns and factory noises of our hometown of Mingora. By the end of the day, I was tired but happy. I knew I had done well. I asked my best friend Moniba to wait with me for the late bus so we could talk longer. We told jokes and laughed until we stepped into the Dyna, the open-backed white truck that was our Kushal school bus. As usual, our bus driver, Uzman Bahijan, had a magic trick to show us. That day, he made a pebble disappear. No matter how hard we tried, we couldn't figure out his secret. 19 girls, 2 teachers, and I bounced along Haji Baba Road, a mix of brightly colored rickshaws, women in flowing robes, men on scooters, honking and zigzagging through the traffic. Our bus had no windows, just a yellow plastic sheet that flapped against the side. We were not more than 3 minutes from my house when the truck suddenly stopped. It was oddly quiet outside. "It's so calm today," I said to Moniba. "Where are all the people?" I don't remember anything after that. Here's the story that's been told to me. 2 young men in white robes stepped in front of our truck. One of them jumped onto the back and leaned under the plastic sheet. "Who is Malala?" he asked. No one said a word, but a few girls looked in my direction. The man raised his arm and pointed at me. Some of the girls screamed, and I squeezed Moniba's hand. "Who is Malala?" I am Malala, and this is my story. Boys and girls, I just got done reading you the prologue of the story. So the prologue is sort of just like the introduction to the story to kind of give you a hint or an idea of what's about to take place. I'd like you to think about the prologue and just kind of ask yourself the question about, why would those men have been there looking for her on the bus and asking who Malala was? What reason did they have to be there? And even though there was a bus full of other students, why was she the one that they were looking for in particular? So when we read again on our next lesson, we'll read chapter 1, and we'll have that the read and respond that I was talking about. So boys and girls, I hope that you're excited about this book. It's really, really, really good, and I know that you're gonna love it. So we'll read again next time.